Travis Wayne, good cell. We have proof that our ancient ancestors knew about the dinosaurs because they talk about apocalyptic literature about the last days Messiah doing battle with serpents or the dragon. And Jupiter has been identified as the last days Messiah, as a sign in the heavens, because he's the one planet, or it's the one planet that retrogrades, and Virgo is when she conceives and bears a son. That's Jupiter, because it retrograded in her belly for a pregnancy period time. So 23rd September 2017 is John's Revelation chapter 12, sign of the woman, which is the sign of the Son of Man, which came from Isaiah and is known to the ancients, as John in Revelation talks about the dragon that does battle with the man-child, as the King James Version for Mormons calls it. What's interesting is that scientists have identified that the comet that killed off the dinosaurs there in the Gulf of Mexico came from Jupiter. Jupiter hurled its stones in a sling and hit the earth right between the eyes and took out the dinosaurs. So yes, they told their stories in that same symbolic concept of knowing that Jupiter took out the dinosaurs, the dragons. So I thought that was kind of cool. And so we'll do the Samson symbols for you. The story of Samson from the book of Judges. I don't know if you caught the movie version that came out. I still have yet to watch that. Shame on me. But Samson is apocalyptic literature and does reveal the 3 days of darkness, the solar eclipses, for the latter days. Gives us the dates of all three, as a matter of fact. And so that's kind of cool. So Samson, it's Shemesh with the N at the end. And as I've gone over with being the one who deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, the N as a suffix determinative. When it's referring to a person, it means king. When it's a place, it means kingdom. So Shemesh is the word for sun. So Sun King. So we're dealing with stories about the sun. And so the first one we have goes over, and they do them in order, which is kind of cool too. Samson, as a young man, finds a hottie, wants to marry her, and on the way to his wedding, he encounters a young lion, kills the young lion. So death is associated here. And so for the 21st of August 2017, where did our total solar eclipse occur? In the Lion constellation. And not just at the Lion constellation, at the star Regis, the king star. An eclipse of the sun at the king star. Cool, huh? And they're in Leo the lion. And there's more to the story as symbolisms abound for the prophecies of the last days and the Messiah and all that. The next one is on the 14th of October, 2023. And this one, I found the closest match here in Utah at Saratoga Springs. I doubt you can see it, especially if you're using your cell phones. You'd have to blow it up real big to see the location at the bottom of the screen for you. Yeah, we're having another total solar eclipse, 14 October 2023. And it's in Virgo. Now there's a female character of whom Samson has dealings with. Her name is Delilah. Now Delilah is also the name of McGee's wife in NCIS, and I just saw the episode today in season 15 where she gives birth to twins. Kind of cool that she had twins. But NCIS is not known for their knowledge of biblical symbolisms throughout the show. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool. Cute babies. But Delilah is the woman, and sure enough, she betrays Samson. Sets him up for the Philistines to take away his power. So you have, instead of death, you have Samson losing his powers with Delilah. Delilah comes from Lilith. Lilith is the word for night in the creation story. And God called the darkness night. That's Lilith. And the T comes from the Egyptian usage of the feminine singular. And so Delilah, I found a D used for a feminine word, Dacia. That's Esau in the feminine. So yeah, that was pretty cool when I met that woman and wanted to find out the meaning of her name, and found out that it's from the Greek, and they just add the D at the beginning, Dacia. So Delilah, Dacia. There's a pattern going on there. And so that was kind of cool. Lilith, if you don't know your biblical history, which came from the alphabet Ben Sura, which is Jewish mystical writings, of which Joseph Smith Sr. knew all about. Alphabet Ben Sura talks about how Lilith was the first wife of Adam in the first chapter. And that was to try to explain why mankind were created in the first chapter and then mankind were again created in the second chapter. So he tries to bridge the gap by creating a story to explain it. And he does a very good job, because he uses the exact same Egyptian petroglyph to do it. Very well done, Alphabet Ben Sura. And it has to do with Nut and Geb in the Egyptian petroglyph for the Heliopolis creation story. And that's where Lilith comes from, is she's the sky, and Virgo is in the sky, Lilith, sky, darkness at night, and so there you have 14 October 2023 with the story in Samson's Judges, as Lilith takes the power away from the Sun King. And so the third one has to do with Samson's death. So we start out with the lion dying, then Lilith takes the Sun King's power, and then the death of the Sun King himself. Now in this part, he's blinded by the Philistines. They take him captive, thanks to Delilah, and they then take him. Now if you try to figure it out from the Mormon scriptures, you're not going to. Bruce R. McConkie blows it. He says a building. Bruce, it's a temple, Bruce. It's the Philistine temple. That's important for all Latter-day prophecy. It has to be the bad religion. And he's blinded, he's chained because he's lost his power, he's chained to the pillars of the temple. And so then he asks God, give me one final burst of strength that I may tear down these temple walls. Sound familiar with some Jesus character in the Gospels? This temple shall be torn down, and in 3 days it will be built up. And for that Jesus was crucified. Now that comes from the Samson story, which comes from 8 April 2024. There you have the death of the Sun King as he's riding on Pegasus from Revelation 19, and the angel is standing in the sun. The death is symbolized by Jupiter being in Aries. If you're unfamiliar with Aries being a sacrificial constellation for death, I refer you to Abraham sacrificing Isaac. In that story, a messenger appears and said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You don't have to kill Isaac. Here's a magical ram that appears." And so the ram is sacrificed in Isaac's place. So there you have the death of the son. Isaac is the son of Abraham. And incidentally, that too is a sign in the heavens, which I went over the other day as to actually indicating the date of when the biblical texts were written. Would be after 8 April 4 AD. 2020 years before 8 April 2024. Not a coincidence. But yeah, Jupiter is in Aries, and the solar eclipse is riding on the back of Pegasus as a sign that John talks about in Revelation 19. So Revelation 12 is the sign of the Son of Man, so that we understand Jupiter as he is the one who battles with serpents and dragons. But the Sun King story from Samson gives us the 3 days of darkness for the latter days. And I just explained to you how to interpret Samson. And nobody else will tell you this. Nobody else knows. Nobody else knows of these dates corresponding to Scripture. It's just me. You might find other people eventually coming out as we get nearer to the dates, but you will know I'm the first this time. And so, yeah, I found the sign of the Son of Man, and I thought I was first, but when I started looking around to see if anybody else knew of it, I found a video that had been done a year later, or earlier, suggesting that was the sign. But the guy had no clue as to what it meant and how it was to be interpreted. You'll notice for 21st of August 2017, Mars is on the right side of the eclipse. Mercury is on the left side of the eclipse. Because of other events that have occurred, I was able to identify Mars as being the leader of the bad church, and Mercury is the leader of the bad government. Do I need to come out and explain? Or have you seen my other videos? But in the one in 14 October 2023, they switch. Mars is on the left, Mercury is on the right of that eclipse. Checking 8 April. What the hell? Somebody's spazzing out. We have Venus to the right. Uranus is with Jupiter, but it looks like Uranus is, or Uranus, however you like to pronounce it. If you're Beavis and Butthead, you like to pronounce it Uranus. Saturn and Mars are getting cleansed in Aquarius. And I don't see Mercury in any near proximity with the snapshot that I have. So, and he lost the election anyway. So, there you have it. The story of Samson and the 3 days of darkness of the latter days.